The Human Founder Podcast by Gali Bloch-Liran.
Hi, I'm Gali Bloch-Liran and welcome to The Human Founder, the podcast where we speak about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Entrepreneurs often describe the emotional roller coaster that is embedded in being an entrepreneur investor, where you experience the lowest of lows, such as when you decide to open your own company with no resources, being very, very vulnerable at that point, and the highest of highs in exactly the same moment when you decide to do something on your own and you're going to nail it. And it's from that place of uncertainty, the need to constantly self-manage yourself, keep up our energy and be mentally resilient in order to deal with everything. Well, it's not easy. In each episode, I will be talking to entrepreneurs, investors, psychologists, being their sounding board, with the goal of creating a space for this less spoken about layer, which is the mental aspect accompanying the entrepreneurial journey. I will also share tips and tricks to help boost your focus, clarity, and mental resilience. And today I have the pleasure of hosting here this conversation together with you, Shani Zanescu, a dear friend and colleague, and it's really, really great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
It's my lucky day. And thank you, Narkis, for introducing between us. Shani, you are a ClimaTech investor and co-founder of PlanetTech, and we'll talk about it deeply in a few minutes. You're also the founder of Israel Tech Ventures, a co-host investing in an investing firm in ClimaTech. You were named Forbes 30 under 30. You hold a Bachelor of Communication and Business Management from Texas Christian University and a Master's in Diplomacy and National Security from Tel Aviv University. So many titles and so many amazing things. And now we're going to put aside all the titles.
Great.
And what about you? Because that's what I like to talk about people, especially women.
Right. And titles are just titles.
Exactly.
So
And it's
I'm
just
happy to do that.
It's just something that, we really need because it helps us to put things
in boxes.
in boxes, on labeling, on some kind of framing. But as you grow a little bit and get more mature, you understand that you want to let go of this, boxes and to unbox it.
Yeah,
right?
I
Unbox it.
100% agree. It's like, we can talk about it more, but it's a change that I've felt in the past couple years.
That's an amazing starting point. Let's talk about it. What did you feel? Yalla.
I feel like from a very young age, because I started very, very young, I had to put myself, or I was looking for the titles, not just for the titles, like to like prove myself and subconsciously to my environment that I can, and I put myself goals and I achieved them and great. And sometimes these goals, they include titles. Okay. It's like you said, this is how we navigate in this world. And I feel, and by the way, I'm still young, I think.
So do I.
So it's not about the age, more of the fact that I care about the essence of what I do every day when I wake up in the morning and the people I work with, and that they are good, genuine, authentic people who want to change the world. Then if you call me a ClimaTech investor or advisor to VCs or like Forbes or this or that, and it is important. I don't want to like completely disregard it, but I feel like you said, it really moved something because it's like, I think it's a change that I've been through in the past, just a couple years.
I definitely agree and relay, and I can share my point of view about my story. I remember myself being in mid-20s, I'm 40 today, wanting to change the role, to establish everything, to conquer everything, like to be the CEO of I don't know what, and how over the years it really relaxed and was much more, in a way that I don't care about the title of what I'm doing, but of the essence, exactly what.
It's really freeing.
And it's really freeing, and what will my day-to-day look like? What kind of impact I will have on the people I'm working with? Will it make me happy? Will I feel joy? Will every day be different and unique and interesting? And it's really something that creates a lot of inner freedom in your choices, in the things that you do, when you're less guided by your titles or your labeling and more guided from within, from what really makes, what really you care about and what makes sense to you, and not necessarily what the environment.
Yeah, it's
is
like
directing
a
you to
sense
do.
of inner peace.
Mhm.
And in this industry that we're working in, it's very, very difficult.
I'm not sure I can say that I have inner peace today. People who knows me will not say that I have inner peace, but something is
Yeah.
much calmer.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you grow up and you get perspective, on things.
Yeah.
And you, through meditation and mindfulness and many personal development tools that you embrace through your life and retreats and working on the brain, etc. So you learn how to be more fulfilled from the inner space that you create,
Right.
and not necessarily be nurtured just from external voices and labeling.
Yeah. And I think, by the way, that this is what makes great companies to be built. Because when a founder is doing something that they actually feel like they want to do, no matter what the title is, no matter if it's like a sector that is hot now or not, or if it has money or not, it makes the whole company even more real and more just aligned with everything, and in the long term also more successful.
Because it brings much more authenticity into
Exactly.
the table and into the doing and into the roadmaps that we have. It's not just because it's nice to have or people are talking about it. It's really an inner drive towards success. So I want to get back to this inner drive and this dance, between the labeling and the boxes and our wish, inner wish to be released from it and to really just create our own path. And I want to take you back to your path and how the heck, in the age of 30 approximately, you're building this kind of, maybe empire, it's a big word, but really as a lead investor in ClimaTech in Israel, which is nowadays it becomes more and more, spoken about and much more investments and the ecosystem is starting in the recent 1 or 2 years to talk about it, and it even becomes such kind of buzzword that everyone wants to take some part of the portion of the of the cake in this conversation. But how do you actually navigate your career in order to be in the centrum of it?
Okay, so I think everyone has like a benchmark or like a point when they start the story, right? Like so for me, I mean, it starts way back. And when I was 15, I grew up in Misgav, which is in northern Israel. Even Israelis don't necessarily know where it is. It's beautiful. And then
the West Galilee.
The West Galilee, I guess, yeah. And then one day my parents told me that we were moving to Fort Worth, Texas, which is, I mean, teenagers, Texas, you can imagine. I don't think we have time to go into all the drama that happened back then. I wasn't so chill and peaceful like I am today.
But it built you.
It did. It was one of the best experiences in my life. And I'll tell you why. Because after almost 3 years with my family there. So I moved there. I was bumped to class. Okay, so I graduated high school very early. And what do you do in the US? You apply to colleges. I had to take the SAT and like do this whole thing, and which is a challenging in itself because I didn't know English. Like the fact that I'm now speaking to you, like it's a gift on its own that needs to be acknowledged.
It's a big win with yourself.
The best.
The best.
Not the best, one of the best.
One of them.
Anyways, and then I got into TCU, Texas Christian University. And my family went back. And for the first time in my life, I had to make an actual like adult decision. I had to decide if I'm going back with my family back to Israel, or stay, graduate, and go back. Now, I was not even 17 when I had to make this decision. And for me, it's an epic moment in my life, not because of the decision, but because it's the first time that I remember that I felt intuition. I felt my guts. I felt like so confident in something inside. I didn't know it's called intuition. Now I can tell you, but I've never felt it before. And something in me told me, Shani, you can always go back to Israel. Just try. And then you can imagine what it means. Well, beside the fun part of like living on like campus with the 3 roommates. We were the house of all the parties, etc., etc. Well, it's not the topic of the podcast, but
We can also
I
relate
mean,
it, you know, it's
let's just
fun.
say it was fun, but it was also, I think, the first time that I realized what is homesick.
Mhm.
I was literally sick out of like missing to my parents. I was a child, okay? Like now that I think about it, I was physically ill out of missing
Wow.
my yeah.
How the body spoke with the mind and tried to send some messages
Mm-hmm.
that you maybe not necessarily understand in the same moment. But you know, I want to reflect for a second about what you said. And at the age of 17, you got few amazing life gifts that sometimes it takes a whole life journey to get them. First of all, your intuition and the ability to listen to the intuition. It's 2 different things.
True.
We may have the intuition, but we don't necessarily listen to it. So you learned how to use it as a mechanism to really use it as a decision-making tool. And this is amazing in a very, very young age. Second thing is the English that we spoke about, and it's amazing. And we all know as how much this is a very big barrier for Israeli startups. Even if they have like good English writing or something, their vulnerability and insecurity to speak up in English and to be afraid of the mistakes that they will make, etc., really stop them in the beginning of the journey to go out to speak to people. And I know many founders that still today really prefer, they are not necessarily the CEO, they may hold different positions, but they really prefer just to work internally into the company and not be not to engage with clients or with investors because of the language. And it's a very big barrier that it's all mental. It's all in the mind, because we can practice it and we can change it, and you got this gift. The third thing is the courage. Like the courage to know that you can do stuff, that you're not afraid of doing things that you want, of pursuing your dreams. And it's like it's this guts muscle, you know. It's the courage that you know that sometimes people say that wow, it's really frightening to do this thing, but no, it's much more frightening not to do this thing because you're afraid of it, right?
Right.
So you stood in front of the fear of the not knowing, of the instability, of the uncertainty, whatever it was, said, okay, I'm going to do it. I don't know how. I'm afraid. I don't have all the information yet, but I'm not going to stop now. I'm going to do it. And I think that building this courage muscle from the age of 15, then later 17, is something so important that builds such a big part of your character and of your stamina and resilience that later on serves you in many, many ways in your life, because you know that you can trust yourself. You learn over and over again that things will be okay. I can trust on myself. And the last thing that you said, like the homesick, so you also learn to appreciate what's important for you in life because you miss it. And you know how later on in time you will want to integrate it, that it won't be either this or this. You want to make it a whole, something that is completed. So it's a few amazing things to learn at the age of 17. I'm not saying that you necessarily understood it all then.
Right. It took me
you some time.
Yeah.
But the roots begins there.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's a muscle. So I think that trusting myself, it's something that I continue to work on. It may be a very developed muscle by now, but it's definitely something that takes time. And also the ability to like imagine things. I remember myself walking from my apartment in Texas on the main road to my classes, and I had a playlist. And when I was walking, it was like a 20-minute walk. I imagined the moment when I received my diploma. Okay, back then for me, it was like the biggest dream. And then it happened. And I think it also adds to like that muscle to really like, you feel it. Like I visualized it, I felt it, and then it happened. And you're like, okay.
That's amazing. And it's so true, because when we also develop our imagination and ability to really try and see it, and how do we do it? We can talk about it with ourselves. We can think about it. And then slowly, we start to visualize it. And then once we see it, it's much more reachable. It becomes more reachable. And even if we won't achieve exactly what we wanted, we know that we made many steps towards this direction.
Exactly.
And it's a very strong muscle to develop because it doesn't come easily. You need, and you said you were walking 20 minutes and you listen to music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find it that being inspired by music or scenery or nature, these are things that really help you to strengthen this
Senses
muscle.
and
The senses, and then you can visualize it in a much better way because it's part of our senses.
right. Yeah.
So you got a diploma.
So I got it. It was great. Love Mexican food. Texas is great. Thank you, Texas.
Cowboys and all the
Cowboys, the whole thing. People
the
learned.
hats,
People learned the farm management in my university.
really.
Yeah.
Farm.
Like there was a degree in
But
farm
you don't
management.
have the accent.
No.
You don't have.
I was like the exotic foreign girl. No one knew what accent I have. Really. If my
That's a nice
ex-roommates
title,
are
exo-
hearing it, they can testify.
Exotic foreign girl. It sounds nice.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
unique.
Yeah. Yeah, but then I really wanted to come back, and it was really important for me to do the military service. And I was already almost 21, which in Israel, it's like an old age to start. All of my friends were already like in India or South America. And I did something that I think only like people who get out of college in the States do. I faxed my CV. What kind of CV I had?
a CV in this age.
Only students who graduate from college. And I heard there's like a foreign affairs unit. And anyways, I think also someone connected me to someone there and she interviewed me for a role. Really weird, like it doesn't happen. And then for 2 years, I was at foreign affairs. It was completely different, but I realized how passionate I am about the thing that I missed the most, which is Israel.
And it's also beautiful to see how, despite the fact, or not despite, together with the fact that you began the army in a later stage, instead of 18 and a half, you began at the age of 21, you packed all the experience and knowledge and the advantage that you brought from the US, from Texas, from the academy over there, and you leveraged it in your military service to something that will also later on will help you to, pave your way to the future.
It felt like a job. It felt like a first job, except I was sometimes wearing uniform, sometimes because it wasn't. So I learned a lot there. And then I decided it's like the foreign affairs arena is something that I'm really passionate about. And one day we got an email that that the Israeli embassy in the Netherlands is looking for someone there at the defense attaché office. And again, I think by now, like just listening to my instincts, whatever, it was already like in motion. So I sent my CV, and I was like, if it's mine, it's mine. Like it sounded like it's not gonna, it didn't feel to me like it's going to happen. It was such a big dream, like, oh, like working in an embassy and like, this is what I want to do, represent Israel, blah, blah, blah. And so I got the role, and I did another relocation.
You just came back and you did another one.
This is, again, I'm still very young, okay? Like, it's funny to tell about it now. It's like, yeah, I'm going to move to the Netherlands, to The Hague. So I was there almost 2 years. And
how was this experience for you at the age of like 22?
First of all, it's like I came in
you were the defense attaché?
I was working with the defense attaché, at the office over there.
Okay.
So first of all, work-wise, I had so much responsibility, and I mean, my boss was amazing, and he gave me like freedom, and the team was great, and the Netherlands is great, and I loved working there. And it was completely different experience working in Europe than experiencing the States. But again, like mentally and personally, it was super challenging. First of all, I was in an environment of like the defense community. So I was not only the youngest, I was the only woman usually most of the times. and I was there alone. And it's not like the weather in Israel. It gets dark very early. It's freezing. And I remember there was time during the snow in the winter when I think I was depressed. Like I wasn't, but it was tough. But I felt like I was doing something for like my career, and it's like I'm building myself. It was another dream that I was like, okay, I this is what I wanted. I now need to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I want to take you to this exact moment that you're describing. That on the one hand, you're really saying, this is my career, I'm pursuing it, this is my dream, I'm going to do it. And on the other hand, you're looking at yourself and you say, wait, it's cold, it's freezing, it's dark, I'm alone, I'm a woman, I don't have emotional support here, psychological support here. And all of a sudden, I feel something that it may be not that accurate for me. What happens, I mean, the career, fine. But in all the other aspects, something is not really sitting in the best position. Are you aware at the same moment that this is what you're feeling, or it's only something that in retrospective you know to say?
Yes, I did feel it at the same moment, but there was something that it was just like a bigger force than me that I chose to be there. It's like something that I want to do. I know it will benefit. I learn. As long as I learned something, I knew like I can still stay there. But it's like, yeah, at the same moment that you're sacrificing something.
That you're choosing one thing and you're not choosing other things.
Yes, which is true always.
Yes. But the fact that you're aware of it doesn't make it easy.
No.
All the time you need to remind yourself in the morning
to justify.
To justify it and to say, this is my choice. I know that in the long run it will serve me. I know that I'm learning. I know that I'm achieving many, many milestones that I've put as goals in my life. But I'm also paying the price, and I'm aware of it. But then the question is, when is the moment of time that you're telling yourself, okay, I can do it to, I don't know, half a year, 1 more year, 2 years, but that's it, in order to keep yourself in a good mentally condition.
Yeah. So to begin with, I came there with not a deadline, but I knew it will be around 2 years. Okay, which is you don't relocate for like less than that. It takes only a year to figure out where you are. But I did one cold, dark night. I ordered like a one-way ticket back to Israel, and I called my boss.
All of a sudden?
I mean, it was built there, okay, but I gave him a call. I was like, listen, I need to go back. And he said, I know. Good luck. You have my blessings. And I was like, good, because I already bought a ticket back.
And you never came back afterwards?
To the Netherlands? No.
So it's amazing how also, if we break it down to pieces for young people that may listen to us and dreaming about being investors or founders, entrepreneurs, it doesn't happen overnight, and you build your way to there. And it's very important to be attuned to those moments in this journey when you're paying the prices, when it's okay with you, and when it's reaching to a place that it's no longer good for you and you need to make a change.
Right.
Sometimes, by the way, without being too spiritual, we know that it's not the right place for us. Either we don't have the courage, either we're afraid, either we don't know how to do it. There can be many, many reasons. Sometimes, in a way, the universe will make the decision to us. Someone can get us fired. The position can be closed. The relocation may end. There are different things that can happen. But when we dive deep into it, we know to say that it is the right thing to do. I just had yesterday a situation of working on some project that the other side said that it doesn't want to work on this project anymore. And, at the first moment, my response to it was, what? But we're great on it and we're going to do this thing together. And in the first moment, I was like insulted or hurt or disappointed or all the, negative feelings that you can think about it. But this is exactly the resilience muscle. how long it takes you to bounce back and to get back to the center. And I remember I went up with my kids to the apartment, and I told my husband that I need to take time to myself. I need to go regroup and think. And I just went, to 3 hours to the room. And I sat down, and all of a sudden, so many opportunities and new directions popped up. That's only what I needed. Okay. I mean, someone else made a decision for me. I don't like to be in this position, but okay, let's see how we play with the cards now. And amazing things happened since there. It's like less than 24 hours. So sometimes things are coming from another direction, and we need to be attuned to it, to listen to it, and to try to ask ourselves, what is the word trying to say to us?
Yeah, I think
how we go along with it.
We have to. And if I'm always learning. I don't have answers to everything, but if there's one thing I know for sure is that the universe got my back. For me, this is the resilience. And it's not spiritual. It's a fact. Like, I know it 200% in my every bone in my body. It has my back.
Please explain it to the more scientific people who listen to us. What do you mean by that?
The scientific should know. They know the universe. No, I mean, like you said, it's exactly like and I have so many examples of time when the world, the universe, call it whatever you want. Okay, you can call it something less spiritual, whatever. The decisions are being taken for you, and it may be super painful. But I also feel that sometimes, or specific people or certain personalities, it just happened. It happens for you sometimes. Mm-hmm. And the more we're attuned with it, and like sometimes it's painful, and sometimes you have question marks on why it happened and why. But let's try, and okay, fine. Like it's for me, this is the way to stay resilient: is to be upset about it. Mm-hmm. I can get insulted, whatever it is that I'm feeling, but I know that the long run or the short run, there's a bigger plan like that is meant for me, and I need to go along with it. It's like that muscle of trusting yourself is also trusting the bigger
picture,
because we're not alone in this world.
Right,
we're not alone.
It's all pieces of atoms that work together. And I'll continue what you just said. So the trusting ourselves also connects to let go, to learn how to let go. And this is one of the things.
I'm not so good about it.
Yeah, I know. Like you, the same for me. But that's why I wanted to emphasize it, because for people who are very task-oriented and very high achievers and really like to be out there, that you're like this, I'm like that. So this muscle of letting go is a very difficult one, because it's actually controversial to being in control, right? And we want to control our situations, our decisions, what happens, etc. And I see all the time, both for myself, but also for the founders that I coach and investors that I work with, that I think this is one of the strongest lessons that we need to all the time work with and learn from, is the understanding of letting go of control. Not completely, not totally, of course not.
Yeah.
We don't want to create chaos, but to have this flexibility and agility there to change the situation, to change our expectation from the situation, to navigate, to listen to the world, to listen to what happens, and also sometimes to learn to let go. If something didn't work in one direction, okay, let's drop it.
There's a better way.
Yeah,
that's the way to look at it.
Yeah,
there's
find the
something
other way.
better. And by the way, it's true in professional setting. It's true in dating. It's true with friendships. It's
true in
with
investments. It's
everything.
true in everything.
Right. So anyways, I came back to Israel and I told myself, okay, I want to be in Israel. Like, I want to be here. Let's fast forward a little bit because it's like I can...
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to do. As mentioned, I bought a one-way ticket and I signed up for a master's degree in Tel Aviv University. That's all I had.
Go to school.
Yeah. In diplomacy and national security. It was fun. It was like my thing. And I started looking for a job. It was torturous, like it is. And then I started working at the British Council, which is connecting the UK and Israel through science, innovation, culture, higher education. I started as a project manager, and I think after 6 months, I was promoted to be like the manager of the team, which is a whole episode about that we can do. And I had a lot of learning there. I mean, wow, like a lot of learning. But I think the biggest takeaway from there is that I've realized that yes, I'm very moved or making decisions from, the place of representing Israel in this like foreign affairs arena and all of that. But what I'm most passionate and interested about is the science and innovation. Because I started interacting with researchers and scientists and entrepreneurs through the overall activity. And I realized that this is what makes me excited. So I left there after 3 years. And by the way, it was also a moment when there were organizational changes. And it's like we've mentioned before, it's like the universe
It's
like
calling you. It's
gave me a
redirecting
push,
you.
kind of like it
Mhm.
was a lot of changes.
Mhm.
And there again, I was in a position it's like, what I'm going to do. And I've managed an innovation center for a few months. And there I think, well, the role wasn't for me, like in a sense of
It wasn't the right
expectation.
fit.
It wasn't the right fit,
Mhm.
but the most magical thing that happened there
Mhm.
is that I was blown away because I was interacting with founders of companies on a daily basis and like 5 or 10 of them every day. And I saw this like fire in their eyes and I was like, these are my people.
Mhm.
Until now, I thought it's presidents and ministers and I was
Mhm.
in this diplomacy world. And then I was like, this energy, I want it in my life. And I left. And then there was the dark time of realize, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I mean, and it's been after I've done some things in my life. It's not like
It's the not knowing. It's the
It's
not
the not
knowing.
knowing,
It's
but-
the managing the expectations.
but it's also like not really having any direction and like I was like, what am I gonna like apply to roles now? Like there's nothing that really makes me
Mhm.
excited.
Mhm.
There was no title. Going
Mhm.
back to the beginning,
Mhm.
there was no title that made me feel like I want to feel
Mhm.
that is like right for me. So I built my own thing, which is
Which is a great motivator when you don't find the right suit for you.
yeah. I wanted
to
to
create
create.
one,
I wanted
to
to
create
create my
one.
own role.
And I just want to add something else you said about this innovation center that it didn't work right for you. There wasn't a good fit. So I know so many stories, including myself, that sometimes there are things that are so not aligned
Mhm.
to the inner you, to what you want, to the culture, to many, many things. But if you dive deep, you can get many, many gifts out of them.
100%.
And it can be so pivotal point in your life that I don't know to say if it wouldn't come otherwise, because who knows? But it began there. And
Mhm.
I can also share that my pivotal moment to creating what I do was also from a place that I felt that from several reasons wasn't right thing for me. It wasn't the right fit over the years, okay?
Mhm.
And this is I'm very grateful for it nowadays because you take many, many
Yeah.
gifts and learning and lessons out of those places. And the question is, what do you do with them later on? So how from not knowing in like this phase of your in your life that doing many things from a very early stage, living abroad, being recognized for several things, and all of a sudden you start to be engaged with the startup world and with investment arms in Israel, and all of a sudden you're getting familiar to this thing called ClimaTech.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about what it actually means, ClimaTech.
Okay. There were a few years in between, but let's jump to ClimaTech. ClimaTech, it's an umbrella of sectors, actually. So we talk about the built environment, agri-tech, food tech, energy solution, materials, anything that helps solve the challenges that arise from the climate change crisis that we have been having and that we will continue to have. So all the technologies under this umbrella, and I mean, we can talk more about that, but when I started my own company, I started working with investors, and this is how I rolled into this position of working with startups. And then I realized that here in Israel, a lot of the startups are doing climate tech, but they're not really saying it, they're not presenting it, and they're not harnessing the really abundance of financial opportunities in front of their customers, in front of investors. And this is kind of what made me dive into that and learn more about it.
I want to ask 2 questions that pops to my mind. First of all, you're not coming from ClimaTech experience or general knowledge further than being a person on this on this earth. And second, you weren't an investor before. Where from in the beginning, at the end of your 20s, something like that, you have this guts that we spoke about earlier, that started to be built at the age of 15, moving to Texas. You take those 2 things and you say, okay, I'm going to lead investments and I'm going to do it in ClimaTech.
Yes. So, well,
yes.
So here's the thing. So it was something that I was dreaming of doing. The ClimaTech part came afterwards, okay? But first, because I worked with startups, I was like, okay, what do startups need? Well, a lot of things, but they need money. They need money and direction and a lot of things. I know how to raise money. Like that was my first, very basic, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not going to wrap it in like anything like, I was like, I can raise money. I have a huge network from abroad. I'm a people's person. This is my thing. People relate, like this is what I do. So this is why I opened my company that offered services to investors who wanted to invest in Israeli startups. This is how it all began. And I started working with angel investors and also with specific programs that they were looking back. They were all like accelerators and incubators, etc. That looking back, they were all around kind of the same world of climate, but I didn't connect it back then. It was just things that I was drawn to and they were drawn to me. Okay. And then when I started working with a UK-based group that have over $1 billion of investments here in Israel, there were 2 clusters. One was medical and the other one was what we called back then sustainability, environment, agri-tech, stuff like that. And this is how I kind of like rolled into this whole world of ClimaTech. So I was working with a company. I'm also involved in a few boards of companies, now mainly in the agri-tech world. And so I learned from doing, and I learned from working. It wasn't something theoretical. It's like from the doing, I learned so much. And by the way, this is the kind of person I am as well. Like I like to be throwing into the tachlis. And I learned from my colleague. I learned from the startups I'm working with. I think we learn from everyone, not just the hierarchy of the organization. And I learned by making mistakes.
So you describe so beautifully how you dreamt about it.
I dreamt about it, yeah.
The young girl that came from Misgav to Texas, to Israel, to The Hague, to Israel. All this journey. And we spoke about visualizing what we want to achieve at the beginning of our conversation. So you actually dreamt about, making investments with startups. And then slowly, it began to happen. And the other thing that you're talking about is learnability, the ability to learn from everything. And you said it so rightfully. We learn from a conversation like this now. I'm learning from you and you learning from me. You're learning from peers, from colleagues, from the startups you work with, from the investors that you report to. You learn from the bank people
Mhm.
that help you make the transfers and everything that you need, and you learn from the lawyer, and you learn from the market, and you learn from everything. And if you're like a sponge,
Mhm.
or like children's mind, that
Mm.
they are observing everything that happens, they are listening to it, gets into their brain, and then later on, we're classifying it, we process the information, and we see what to do with it. So this is the mindset that you were in, and I'm emphasizing it because I truly believe that if you have the courage and if you understand the trade-offs and you're open to learning and you visualize and envision what you want to do, and you're open to learn all the time what you don't know, and to listen to feedback, which is also part of learning, there's really nothing that we cannot achieve
Nothing.
beside our health. This is something that it's like, it also helps there, but this is something that it's
Yeah.
out of our control. But things that are within our own control to develop, to create our future, startups, investments, whatever, it's really a lot of how much effort and choice we're willing to put into it, and to do just whatever is needed.
Yeah. And I think we live in an amazing time when all the information is available to us.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's through people or through learning by yourself and asking questions and having conversations and just learning the thing that you feel most passionate about, it may be your job, it may be something else that you do. But yes, I think we need to have this to be humble
Mm-hmm.
and be aware that we're like a sponge in this world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is how we also kind of groom that muscle of also taking risks. Because for me, I think the fact that I know that I can learn because I'm a human, not because I'm Shani. I don't think because I'm human. It allows me to try, to have
Mm-hmm.
like the ability to try out things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Totally agree. So going back to ClimaTech,
Mhm.
what is it in ClimaTech that really moves you and makes you feel that these are the kind of companies that you want to be involved in, with the founders that are creating solutions to these challenges, invest in those kind of technologies? What is it there that's so strong for you?
I think that different things move different people. And I can say, at least from what I know about myself now, that something that is moving me is to be a part of something so big that I cannot even see it sometimes. And this is, by the way, the blessing and the curse of the climate change crisis, that it's so big and significant, but we can't see it now. There's no sense of urgency. But I know that it's a part of something bigger. And so this is something on the motivation. Add to this a layer of the opportunities that are out there now. $150 trillion will have to be invested into climate in general, also technologies, but regulations, etc., in the next few years, according to Bank of America report, and I can cite other people as well. And add to that,
So we have motivation, we have opportunity,
and we have more opportunities. I can expand on that. It's not just the money. And for me, on a personal level, I mean, the universe got my back, so I have to take care of it,
and you have to give back.
I have to give back, and it's also something that is important for me. So there are a lot of opportunities that add to this, and I'm not the only person who feels that. So I think there's no better time than to do it. Like we have to invent technologies that solve climate change.
Why do you think that people are ignoring it, or referring to the first thing that you said? That it's true, it's a curse and blessing. It's so big that we can't even see tomorrow morning.
Mhm.
People in denial, people in procrastination to do something. People are so worried in the COVID, in the raising their children, in making money for a living, that they cannot think, something bigger than that? What do you think is lying there?
I think that in COVID, that there are people who deny that it's like, whatever. And I'm not saying it from a judgmental place. I just think that sometimes there are things that if you really think about climate change, it will put you in, and you have children, right?
Mhm.
So
A
it
lot
will
of
put you in a
anxiety.
lot of an anxiety. So
Mhm.
it's, just don't even go there.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a person who, I prefer to be on the optimistic side to see what we can do.
Mhm.
We can't undo the damage that we've done. But it's also, I think that people in the tech world, we have the privilege to take all the knowledge and resources and abilities and the entrepreneurial mindset and everything that we have into solving that. I mean, the entire essence of being an entrepreneur is solve problems, right?
Real problems.
And you need real problems. And cyber and fintech, there are many, many problems. But for those who really feel that they can and that they have something that is important for them, there are so many problems to solve. And this is something that we have to do.
It's like, although we said earlier, we need to visualize the good stuff in order to go towards them. So here, actually, we don't really like to visualize that there's no going to be food anymore, right?
Yeah, but you don't have to visualize anymore. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You have heat waves,
Mm-hmm.
floods now in
Mhm.
August in the
Mhm.
US. I mean, what on earth? Like, it's not, people start to feel it. We don't see that the food is about to, we can't really see it in the Western world, but it does. Okay. There's going to be a
happens. Mhm.
food shortage.
Mhm.
Fruits and vegetables. Okay. It's like, we can't even see that. But we start to feel it, the temperature in certain areas in the
Mhm.
world. So yeah.
Share with us 2-3 companies or technologies that you really like, that you really see how they lead a change in ClimaTech.
Wow. It's like to play favorites.
No, just, whatever you like. No favorites.
I mean, here in Israel, we do have amazing people, founders of companies and companies that do that. I will share from my own podcast, recent episodes. For example, we have BeeWise.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people think of bees. It's like, okay, bees. Well, bees are in charge of 75% of our fruits and vegetables.
Mhm.
Okay? I will leave the listeners with this data. And they do actually robotic hives,
Yes.
which is really, really cool. We have UBQ materials, who are actually invented a new material. I mean, isn't it amazing? You can see, the listeners don't see my eyes. My eyes are sparkling
They
when
will
I
see.
speak
They will
about.
see it later on
okay.
YouTube. Say hi. Do like this with the eyes.
No, but it's
So
exciting.
what kind of material do they?
That replaces plastic.
Okay.
They take waste, okay, and turn it into a special material that create plastic. They're working with McDonald's and Mercedes and many, many others. Who else?
It's like
should we?
Soloto, no?
Soloto is making
Plastic
biodegradable.
They
Yeah,
change the material.
exactly.
Okay.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
And Israel is a leader in alternative protein.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, really, it's really difficult to choose companies.
No, I
love
can
you
ask
all.
you to choose just to mention few.
Yeah, but I'm just giving a sense of, everything that is dairy replacement, new meat. We have, for example, Sea Tree, which is basically digitizing the whole the forest. A lot of people think ClimaTech, they think tree huggers. Well, this is a this is a company that takes care of the trees. I mean, there are so many.
And what's also important to emphasize, I think, tell me if you agree, is, well, you can say that cyber, it's like, although it's relevant to many other verticals as well, but it's like, it's a vertical of fintech, it's a vertical and I don't know, NFTs or gaming. It's all various verticals that, there is some kind of connection between some of them. For example, fintech and cyber relevant to all, but it's cross vertical. But there are some vertical technologies. When you talk about ClimaTech, it's kind of an ecosystem that each technology that help in one area actually also create an impact on other things, because we need to create a common effort in order to prevent those things from happening,
Right.
about the food shortage, or about the heating waves that we have, etc., etc. So we need to address it, or actually here to attack it from various directions in order to create a meaningful impact.
Right. And it's really everything. This is why I think it's a great opportunity for entrepreneurs to build new companies. It can be in the built environment. It can be even fintech. It can be digital climate, protecting digital infrastructures. And, it's really endless. It can be the actual nature, protecting ecosystem like oceans and forests. It can be about carbon capturing, carbon removal. And the entire world, is on the race to zero. There are corporates who are actually the customers of these companies who have committed to go net zero very, very soon. 2050 is not that far away if we think about it. And I think, there are a lot of opportunities right now, and it's really endless. There are so many problems that endless.
I think the opportunity is so big, and it really affects us all.
Yes.
When we want to build houses, when we want to buy food, when we want to raise our children, it's really ClimaTech. It's so wide, and so many things are under this umbrella, and there's really a huge opportunity. We also need to see that we are addressing the right things that will create immediate impact, and not just to be under this, let's say, sexy umbrella now as a buzzword that also others try, to create a momentum there.
And it wasn't sexy until long ago.
Until recently.
Until recently, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is,
So if founders that listen to us have new ideas or product or technologies that want to help solve the ClimaTech crisis. So
yeah. And this is also, by the way, why I co-founded the ClimaTech, which is a nonprofit. So it has a lot of resources and information and knowledge that is available for the entrepreneurs, for the founders. So also, if you're wondering what is the challenge that you want to solve, then it has a beautiful map of what it is that we need to solve. So just mentioning it as a resource.
Part of your ideation process and understanding if you're in the right direction. So there's much knowledge there and data and the things that can help you map your thoughts. And for founders who would like to reach for investments, where they can find you?
Well, I'm around. I'm always happy to learn and be fascinated by new technologies and amazing people and founders. I'm on LinkedIn, email, shanizanescu@gmail.com.
I really, before we hit a pause, I really want to, we just met not so long ago in a very, very unique situation in W, thanks to Narkis and to Iris. And it's really amazing. This is, I think it's also part of the universe got us back, and the ClimaTech, the things and the energy that we spoke about. Things are coming from different directions, and you need to be attuned and to be able to listen to what reality brings to you. Sometimes it eliminates opportunities, sometimes it brings others, but you need all the time to fine-tune yourself. And it has a really direct connection, to my opinion, and to your opinion as well, I know, to really ClimaTech, to how we need to help this, to our planet to be in a better condition, to help each other, even to create companies that are very sustainable to their employees, but also sustainable to the environment, to the usage of the different things that we need there, to the waste, to the carbon, like you mentioned, to the food waste that we have, even in all the corporates here. So it's really something that I will even say it's kind of a mindset that once you embrace it, you know how to, in every direction that you go, to be more aware. It's actually a way of awareness. It's a level of awareness to doing the small things, the things that we can help to improve the situation, but also as founders, to really invent new technologies that can help.
And feel that meaningful feeling. Like, what's best than, wake up in the morning and feel like your technology is helping, 100% of it is helping something.
Yes.
I mean,
It's very fulfilling.
Very, yeah.
Shani, thank you so much for joining me
Thank
today.
you. We could speak for hours, probably.
Yeah. But people are listening to me. People are listening to you. So we'll make it like. So you said where they can find you, and you also have the podcast that people can listen to you about ClimaTech, right? So it's
yes.
also a great resource. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you. And to our lovely listeners, we're going to hit pause until next episode. I'll be, that's also something I say to the, entrepreneurs in my clinic in between sessions. If you enjoyed listening, I would really appreciate it if you share the podcast with people who you think would derive value from it. Thanks to the amazing studios at Google Campus that allows me and Shani to record all this content in here. And this is also part of, for example, ClimaTech. Instead of having millions of studios, you can have few, and it's less energy, and it's more resourceful, and it's even nice to
shared economy.
spend time. Yeah, shared economy is great. So thank you. Feel free to visit my website at galiblochliran.com and leave your details there if you wish to be updated and learn more about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Also, be sure to follow my podcast, The Human Founder, in any of your podcast apps and raise it so it will rise to the top. Let's have pause. Till next time.